is piece 28, the Peplos Kore from the Acropolis. In terms of form, it's a statue of a girl. It is 3 feet 10 inches high. It is carved in the round, so it has been removed from the stone from which it was carved, yet it's intended to be viewed from the front. And she has an archaic smile, which doesn't represent, haha, I'm happy, as much as it represents a sign of life. It is, I like to kind of just compare it here to the Anavisos Kyros that we just learned about. This piece is 6 feet high, and in terms of form, this shows our complete male figure in the nude. And so we have a difference here between the male and the female in terms of size and in terms of nudity. Okay, in terms of content, we have this vocabulary of peplos and of kore. A peplos is a traditional Greek robe or shawl, and it's made out of wool, so it's rather heavy. So it's draping here over her body. It's gathered at the waist with a belt, but it shows her curvature, so there's some femininity about this piece. And then her hair, like our Anavisos Kyros, our male figure, her hair drapes on her body and shows just the form of her shoulders and her neck. And then the word kore refers to female as opposed to kyros, which would be male. More content. This is a painted up version of our Peplos Kore. In her head, there are bore holes, and there are bore holes on her shoulder. And so we know then that her head likely had something that was attached to it that fell off over time. And if you remember Harry Potter, you know the word diadem. And so it's believed that the Peplos Kore would have had a diadem that stuck into those bore holes in her head. And she might have also had a shield or a helmet or bows and arrows that she would have held. And these, if you can see here, here's the bow, an arrow in her right hand would have made her Artemis, the goddess of the hunt. Also content, this Peplos Kore was painted, and you can see some of the remnants of the paint around her head, on her hair right here and in her eyes. And so we know that she was painted. A lot of the Greek statuary architecture was definitely painted in bright colors. These are options for what her hair or colors might have been. The brighter the color, we believe the wealthier the patron who commissioned it to be done, because colors, dyes are really expensive. I mean, we can get into lots of the story about, like the blue colors. They're just very expensive. Okay, so the function of this piece. So this is the Acropolis, which we're going to really get to know. And this Peplos Kore was found buried on the Acropolis. It's really likely that it was commissioned by a wealthy person to be an offering to a god or a goddess. It could have been, though, a grave marker for someone, or it could have been the representation of a goddess. So any one of these is an option. I kind of think more you might want to just become bonded to the first idea that it's a wealthy person would have commissioned it as an offering to a deity, but be aware of all three. In terms of context, super big idea here. Remember Persepolis and Darius and Xerxes? Well, Darius led the Persian army to the Greek city-states here and crushed Athens in 480 BCE. They went up to the Acropolis, which was, in addition to the Agora, the Acropolis up on the hill was where all of the temples were, most of the temples were, I should say, not all. There were temples down by the Agora. But the Persians came through Athens and just burned this baby down. And when the Athenians returned to their Acropolis, they buried all of the statues that were up on the Acropolis as, gifts to the gods. And they just wanted to have no, oh God, what was it? I forgot my vocabulary. What I was going to say. They didn't feel like they were good offerings to the gods anymore. And I'm sorry, I'm saying that in such a simple term. At any rate, the Athenians buried the Peplos Kore, and what ultimately happened as a result is that it was completely preserved. And so it was unburied in the late 1800s with all of this preservation in place and all those little paints, sample pieces in place. And so it was really something that saved this antiquity for us in later years. All right, the Peplos Kore from the Acropolis.